we'll be beginning today's session. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aditya from Circle Health, and today we are thrilled to introduce our esteemed speaker for the webinar, Beyond the Bite Food as Medicine, who is none other than Shweta Thakur, the dynamic CEO of Wildemart, which is a beacon of healthy eating in today's bustling world. So, Shweta's journey from the world of banking to entrepreneurship is nothing short of inspiring. Having found her own creative agency in 2010, she's proven her mettle as a visionary leader. However, her story took a fascinating turn in 2013 when she embraced a vegan lifestyle. This pivotal moment not only transformed her personal health, but ignited a passion for promoting healthier eating habits on a broader scale. In 2021, Shweta took her commitment to wellness to new heights by launching Wildemart, a label checked healthy food store. With this venture, she's on a mission to revolutionize the way we think about food and empower individuals to make informed, nourishing choices. We at Circle Health have collaborated with Wildemart not only to bring you this insightful webinar, but also to give you attractive discounts on their products, which you can avail and check out through our applications and use the coupon Circle Health 10, which I'll be dropping in the chat. But yeah, so during today's webinar, Shweta will delve into the secrets of shopping better, offer invaluable insights into easy, healthy swaps, and share tips for daily energy boosts. Whether you're a seasoned health aficionado or just beginning your journey towards wellness, this webinar promises to be an enlightening experience for all. So let's give a warm welcome to Shweta, our speaker for today. Welcome, Shweta. You can,
Thank you, Aditya. That was such a nice introduction. Thank you so much.
yes,
And
yes.
hello to everyone. So there's so many people here. I genuinely I thought the crowd will be smaller. So I'm very happy that there's so many, takers for healthy eating. And probably on that note, I will just get started. There are a bunch of people who are still joining in, so we'll let them join in. But we'll get started. Um, so my journey with food, as Aditya mentioned, started. I mean, obviously we've been eating since we were born, so that I would hardly call that as a journey with food because when we are born, the kind of food that we start eating is typically the food that our parents feed us, and that becomes our conditioning around food. So, for example, and these are very common examples because I am from originally from Bihar. I have lived. My parents now live in Delhi. I moved to Bangalore about 15 years back from Bombay. And when I moved to Bangalore, of course, the cuisine was very different. The food was very, very different. And I can comfortably say today, after 15 years of living in Bangalore, that, the South Indian food has become more my food than the North Indian food that I was raised with. So the reason why I share that is to make you understand that food is conditioning. In my family, for example, when I cook for my parents, even today, if I put coconut oil in any food, they'll not be able to eat it. And if for my friends here in South, if I put mustard oil in their food, they don't like the taste. So it's food is a lot of conditioning. Food is a lot of things that we are unconsciously taught and trained to kind of believe, know, learn, whatever, all of that. And I'm hoping that by the end of this session, I can probably put a thought in your head that you can uncondition yourself from the food that you've been eating. So I had been eating for 30 years of my life. I was a very heavy duty non-vegetarian. I was eating meat, not so much dairy, but my meat consumption was very high. And as I grew older, as a child, I was raised non-vegetarian. As I grew older, I ate more and more different kinds of meats. And by the age of 30, I was somebody who would go to a restaurant and think, who eats, vegetarian at a restaurant? Who pays for vegetarian food? And it so happened that on around 25th, around Christmas of 2013, I watched a documentary which kind of changed the course of my life entirely. And I turned vegan overnight. And then a full journey of discovery with food, which was more conscious, that followed through. So the agenda here is not to tell you about my vegan journey, but to tell you that the minute I got conscious about the food that I was consuming, a lot of things changed. A lot of understanding around food changed for me. But let's begin with the basics. When we say food, there is with the same ingredients, you can create two very different types of food. With the same chana, with the same chickpea, I can make chickpea salad, I can make a whole bunch of bowls and stuff like that, or eat it like a sundal, boiled as stuff, or I can eat chola bhatura and chana kulcha and things like that, right? So it's the same ingredient, but it is treated in two very different ways. And to a lot of people, like chola bhatura would be something that is very close to your heart. So if I asked you what your favorite food is, it will in all probability not be a salad bowl, no matter how often you eat a salad bowl. Because when I ask you what is your favorite food, it comes from the heart. So food is as emotional as it is functional, and that is important for us to understand and differentiate, because that changes our behavior around food. So when I say functional, the function of food, not just for the human beings but for any living being, function of food is to be a fuel. It is to give you energy to do your daily activities. It is for you to get energy to build your muscles, to store energy, and all of those different kind of functions. Um, when it gets emotional, and emotional food is primarily only we as a species who eat emotionally. But for us, food becomes an emotion. When we are sad, we want certain types of foods. When we are happy, we want certain celebratory type of food. When we get together, we use food as an expression. There are very many different types of foods being invented and created, not for the purpose of nutrition, but for the purpose of an emotional attachment with the food. And that is essentially where food ceases to be nutritious, and the purpose of food ceases to be about nutrition, and it shifts to being about satiation. It should make you feel satisfied. There are so many times you will eat meals where you will not feel satisfied at the end of it, and then there'll be that one bite of something that you take and you feel like very satisfied. So we have to understand that there is a difference between food as a function, which is nutrition, and food as an emotion, which is a lot of things around your culture, your expression, and a lot of those issues. Now, the other thing that is important to understand around food is that it is very personal, for multiple reasons, functionally and emotionally. So for me, for example, who has been raised in Bihar, lived in North India, come to South India, my emotional food might be something like a chola bhatura, right? And but for somebody who was raised here in Bangalore, for them the benne dosa might be the emotional food that they go after, right? So therefore, food, the emotionality of food is very, very specific to how you are raised, what you've been exposed to, how you've been conditioned. The functionality of food is also different, because the same food may react differently to me and differently to you. So for example, something as simple as allergies. If we have different food allergies, the same food behaves differently for us. Deficiencies, our needs for food from a nutrition point of view. If I work out a lot, and if versus somebody who's very sedentary, the function of food changes. What you need to eat for that particular body completely changes. So, eating healthy or eating at all is technically a very personal activity. It has to be designed for the person concerned. There is no, one size fits all formula for healthy eating. And which is why I want to make it very clear that I am not a nutritionist. I am somebody who's been eating healthy for the last 10 years. I've lived a healthy life. Touch wood, I get by very well without medicines and all of that. And, also that this is stuff that has worked for me, for my body, for my physical requirements. It may not work for you, but then there are certain general golden guidelines also that I will share, which kind of works for broadly everyone. And let's keep the session engaging. Questions whenever you feel like. And if someone raises hand, because Aditya, I'm on screen share, just let me know if somebody is raising a hand. And I think somebody is. We can take the question during the conversation itself, whichever suits.
Yeah, yeah. So Yuraj has raised his hand. Yuraj, you wanted to
Sure.
ask something?
No. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back to that. All right. So this is the broad formula for eating healthy. And when I say broad formula, now if you've watched a lot of these documentaries in the recent time, the most significant one being the Blue Zone, Secrets of the Blue Zone, it's available on Netflix. There are other documentaries like What the Health. There is another one that just came out. Then there is Game Changers. So there are multiple documentaries where they talk about food in different. And I'm not talking just plant-based foods, just generally about food and what is healthy and what is not healthy. And in general, I think the consensus today largely lies that your food needs to have more of fruits and vegetables, more of whole cereals, more of nuts and seeds, and more of what I call bean protein, but basically vegetable plant-based proteins. And it needs to have less of food in packets, less of oil and sugar, and less of meat and dairy. So there is no absolute way of doing anything. Food, like I said, is as emotional as it is functional. So you can largely apply a formula that about 70-80% of my life I will go around eating food that is functional for me, and 20% of the time I will allow myself to eat food that is emotional for me, because it does something for me. It kind of releases serotonin or whatever it might be, but it makes me happy. And I think it's important for us not to get convoluted in this whole idea of having a strict diet and eating something very specific and things like that. I think if you don't make it very hard and fast, it's easier to work with food, or rather with any kind of habits or lifestyle changes that you might be doing. You need to be kind to yourself. There are days that you'll not be able to do it as well as some days. That's absolutely fine. The idea is to be mindful about it, to become conscious about what you're eating instead of just like an automated behavior putting food in your mouth. So largely we're talking about fruits and vegetables of all kinds. It can be raw, it can be cooked. Whole cereals, by whole cereals we mean basically cereals which have certain kind of grain cover. So you're talking millets, you're talking black rice, red rice, brown rice, those kind of things. You're talking about bran, oats, things like that, which are whole and therefore have higher fiber. So if you see fruits and vegetables, of course, from different food groups, you will get different kinds of nutrition. If you are aware, there are macronutrients that we need in the body from a functionality perspective, and there are micronutrients. Macronutrients typically are your carbs, proteins, fiber, and fats. And your micronutrients goes into your vitamins and minerals. So when you include more of fruits and vegetables, you ensure that you get a lot of your fiber from there. You ensure you get a lot of your vitamins from there. When you include whole cereals, again, you're improving your fiber count, you're increasing your complex carbs that you're consuming, so that the body takes longer to break down those kind of carbs. Your blood sugar spikes are controlled. So this is basically a general way of eating, which will keep you away from most of the lifestyle diseases that we know of. So currently we know of diabetes being very common, cholesterol being very common, heart diseases being very common. All of these diseases are kind of interlinked because they're all a function or a derivative of your metabolic activity. So at the end of the day, if your metabolism is healthy, your diseases will be at bay. Unless, of course, the diseases are genetic, then you can't really do anything. But any disease which is dietary or can be caused because of diet, which is most of the lifestyle diseases as of now, those can be controlled, reversed. And a lot of people are reversing many, many diseases with a whole food plant-based diet, which is, diseases like diabetes, diseases like thyroid, diseases like cancer. A lot of it is getting reversed with this whole food plant-based kind of diets. So what do the whole foods give you? Basically, they give you the macros that you need. They give you the micros that you need, which is very important because in a lot of times food processing, you will still get your fat, you will still get your carbs. You may not get your proteins in a lot of the processing. And you will definitely not get a lot of the micronutrients, because micronutrients are the first that get washed out when the food is processed a lot. And when I say processed a lot, it just doesn't mean, making white sugar from sugarcane. processing of food also includes the way you cook your food. So, if your food is overcooked and hence over processed, then a lot of the nutrition of the food also dies. So the best kind of food for you to eat is essentially as close to raw as possible. Of course, these are ideal scenarios. The idea is for all of us to move on a journey which takes us closer to that path. You will never ever achieve 100% of anything of that sort, but then you can move towards that journey, right? So nuts and seeds again gives you a lot of the healthy fats which don't clog your arteries, and it gives you a lot of the micronutrients. Bean protein again, a lot of the protein, and vegetarian protein largely can come from different types of beans and legumes. Very very healthy. And the idea is that you cut down on your oil and sugar, because oil and sugar is at the end of the day, the base of all the disease, because oil and sugar carries a lot of the calories. Now, the minute you ingest extra calories, it just gets stored in your body. So therefore, it needs to be moderated. And the type of oil and sugar that you consume also is very important. And we'll talk about that. Meat and dairy again has been spoken, and these are all long conversations, but I'm kind of keeping it short on that. But meat and dairy is currently known to be causing different types of cancers. The protein that it has is loaded with a lot of fat. Animal protein comes with cholesterol, because cholesterol is made in animal bodies, so it comes with a little bit of dietary cholesterol, which plant-based foods don't have. So meat and dairy in general, as per research right now, is not the healthiest diet, and particularly if you eat processed meat like sausages, ham, bacon, and stuff. In fact, processed meat, processed red meat is in the same category of carcinogen as cigarettes. So when we, usually a lot of times we feed our kids breakfast, and breakfast may you'll give toast and sausages and eggs and stuff like that. That's like literally feeding your child cigarettes. Of course, it's not in that quantity and stuff like that, but hypothetically that is what it means. And the same thing with food in packets. What happens with food in packets, and this is a war that a lot of people are fighting as on date, but food in packets, where essentially this is processed food or packaged foods. What tends to happen is that these are made by corporations, these are made by companies, where obviously it's a business at the end of the day, so it's a profit making institution. And the goal of most of these foods is not to provide nutrition, is to provide a sort of addiction. So in most of the mainstream packaged foods that you will find made by large food companies, most of them, if you turn around the labels, you will see only numbers. You will see sugar as your primary ingredient. You will see salt as your primary ingredient. What is important to understand is both sugar, salt, and fat, which is oil, are almost like they behave with your brain in a certain way. They attach to the opioid centers and stuff like that, and it is designed, those three food groups are designed to create a certain level of addiction in the human body, and this is physiological. So this is not something that you will understand, but when you get a sugar craving, and if you eat very sweet chocolate or something like that, a lot of times that craving does not get satisfied and you want more of that. So these are behaviors to observe when you become more mindful about eating. But food in packets essentially is not meant for nutrition. It is meant for munching. It is meant for you to keep munching, and a large part of the lifestyle problems or health issues are coming because of packaged foods today.
Uh,
Now, yeah,
Shweta, there's a couple of questions in the
sure.
chat if I can. Yeah. So Shrijit asked if we can please tell us how many plant-based proteins are there,
Hmm.
considering the different anti-nutritional factor in plant. How frequently can we have this type of protein sources?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure I fully understand the anti-nutritional part of it, but I will tell you where common plant protein sources are. Now, one of like your standard ones are all your beans and legumes. So when I say beans, I'm talking about your kabuli chana, I'm talking about kala chana, I'm talking about green gram, red gram, black bean, black gram. all the kinds of beans and legumes and lentils that we eat. So some like tur dal and chana dal and moong dal is something that we eat commonly in the Indian diet as dals. Of course, I'm not saying these are the highest level of proteins. I'm not saying, I'm not ranking them in any order right now, but I'm saying these are sources of protein. Some have more, some have less. Of course, soya has the highest, I think, protein content. In that, if you specifically, soya, I can understand a lot of people have problem with the taste and stuff. But tofu is something that you can consume very easily, and there are some really good brands of tofu in Bangalore that you can consider, most certainly, because a lot of the shelf bought tofu I have bought earlier, they taste like rubber. So, like I said, you cannot get into a complete health thing if the taste is completely compromised. So, you need to have a balance of it. So, tofu, tempeh, any soya kind of stuff is great. Then there is a lot of, I think somebody is whispering something. Then there is a lot of, now you will find protein sources from hemp. Hemp is absolutely safe. Hemp is classified as food under FSSAI last year. So hemp protein is in fact one of the most complete proteins because it has all nine essential amino acids. So hemp protein is great. And other than that, there are a lot of plant protein powders right now being made, which you can consume as well. What I have found to be easy again in my journey is to be able to kind of firstly, I mean, mostly people say that you will need about 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. So if you can manage it per meal, great. Or otherwise, I like to do shortcuts because I don't like to measure my meal that much. So I will make, let's say, a protein smoothie and I will freeze that as an ice cream and I will eat it as a dessert. So therefore, I'm eating protein for dessert effectively. So there are ways to kind of move your protein, and I feel blending your protein is the easiest form to do, whether you blend it in a smoothie, whether you blend it in your atta, whether you blend it in a whole lot of situations, but mix it in other than rather than keeping it as a separate item. That's an easy way to tackle it as well.
Yeah, there's also one more question from
Yeah.
Ashwin.
Hmm.
He is asking whether brown sugar and stevia is good for health or not.
Um, so again, like I'm not a nutritionist, so while I will answer these questions, these are all from my experience. Now, brown sugar is a definite no, because a lot of times a simple experiment that you can try at home today, if you are consuming brown sugar, is just put some brown sugar in water. When you leave it in the water, you will see the water will go brown. And so a lot of the brown sugar that you get technically is just colored sugar, like how a lot of the brown bread is just, just colored bread. But brown sugar, so what happens in case of sugar is by the time a product is crystallized in the form of sugar, which is the granules that we know of, there's a heavy level of processing that has gone. So it is mildly better than plain white sugar, because if it is not color coated, I'm saying, if it is genuinely with some remains of the whole foods, mildly better. And when I say mildly better, it will have a light bit of micronutrients more. In terms of calorie intake and in terms of the way sugar behaves in your body, all sugars are equal, except for whole food sugars, which is different. So, for example, your brown sugar and your white sugar will give you a similar GI spike, like it has a similar GI glycemic index. So, if you consume brown sugar or white sugar, your blood glucose will spike in a similar way. There's no change in that. However, if you consume dates and if you consume sugar, your spikes will not be similar because dates are low GI sugars. So that breaks down more slowly. With fruits, again, you will probably have a spike similar to regular sugar, but fruit is a different type of sugar. It's fructose. This sugar is sucrose. So these are all different types of sugar. So sugar is a very complex issue. But yeah, anything crystallized in form of sugar is not really healthy. If you want to kind of, and I'm covering some sugar substitute or sweet substitutes in the presentations later, but ideally date derivatives are the best form. After dates, you will get to jaggery. After jaggery is where you will go into your palm sugar and this sugar. So anything which gets to the sugar stage is lower on the parameters. Anything which is more in the whole space or liquids where the processing is slightly lower, that is a better sugar. And stevia, again, While it is technically natural, it is plant, you can use it, but there is mixed research on it again, because stevia also, what happens is it's multiple times sweeter than sugar, so you need a very small quantity of stevia to make it sweet. So therefore, a understanding of that is important. But over, I mean, I have read research where over a time, long term usage can have health side effects. So my suggestion, or my go-to rather, what I follow is, a wherever I can drop sugar, I drop sugar. Wherever I can cheat sugar, I cheat sugar. And I'll tell you what cheating sugar means for me is that I have major sweet cravings. Like, I have grown up with sweet cravings and I call it cravings. But now what I have learned to do is that my body is asking for a sugar spike, but it is not telling me that I necessarily need to eat a biscuit. It is just asking for sugar in some format. So what I do is I have tons of fruits in my fridge. The minute I feel a sugar rush, I will go eat a fruit. It gives me the satisfaction, probably not as much as that. So it takes a while to again find the right kind of fruit. Like watermelon gets me a very, very close, sugar rush than that a chocolate would do. Then also what I do is, for example, I'll not take milk chocolates or sugary chocolates. I take only dark chocolates, so which does not have sugar. So, or sugar-free chocolates. Or I have started, kind of replacing my sugar cravings by making these sesame jaggery laddus, sesame dry fruits, and yeah. So the idea is that you want to feed your body sugar and tell your palate that yes, I want certain sugar feeling and sugar rush, but it need not be bad sugar. So how you treat your sugar cravings can change the way you consume sugar completely. Like, for example, another thing that I've been doing is my granola and my muesli. There are a lot of brands today which are giving you no added sugar granola and muesli. Check the package, of course, but you can trust a Yoga Bar, you can trust a Whole Truth, and those kind of brands. And you see that this thing, they're only adding these dry fruits. Some of them don't add the dry fruits also, but some will add cranberries, raisins, and stuff like that, and date chunks, and that's sweet enough. You don't need sugar, you don't need honey, you don't need stevia, you don't need any sweetener in that, because those dry fruits are sweet enough. So it's a little about, like, everything that we're talking about is unconditioning your palate, because all of us are slaves to our palates. Food, largely, when we go into the emotion spectrum, is largely about the palate, and the palate has to be pleased. And hence, a lot of the work that you will have to do around food will be to uncondition your palate. So, overnight shock and or treatments on your palate will not work. What you have to do is gradually make changes. Don't try and change everything together, because you'll get cranky, you'll have emotional outbursts and things like that. But slowly, gradually make the swaps that you can, which seem easy for you. Make the easy ones first. There is no competition, there is no target, there is no goal setting. You can do it at your own pace. So yeah, so that's how my take on sugar is. Any other questions, or should we move forward?
I think Yuraj has raised his hand once more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yuraj, do you
sure.
want to ask? I'm guessing not.
All right, cool.
No
Yeah,
issues. We can take the questions at the end also.
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just write it in and stuff. Okay. So
Yes.
now when we talk about food, right? What normally happens, now understand your normal lifestyle. It is very difficult to disassociate food from your lifestyle. Now, if you're somebody who lives at home, who spends a lot of time in your kitchen, life is easier for you around food, because you can make the foods that you want, you can choose to put in what you want, all of that. The next stage of that is, if somebody else is making your food, that means you're either ordering it at from restaurants, or you have a cook who's making your food. Your control on your food reduces. Then the third level of that is when you are eating packaged food, which is basically made by someone else altogether, mass produced, not even produced for you. Then that's a third level of degree of control that you don't have on your food. So, and if your lifestyle is busy, right? Like, if your lifestyle is busy, you have a work, you have job, you have kids, you have family, you have tons of responsibilities. And a lot of time, and especially for women, I have seen this happen very often, is that you will neglect your own health, your own body, your own, requirements from your food and stuff like that. Now, it's very obvious that it will happen, but your food has to work despite of that for you. Because the one part that we're talking about, your energy levels being right, if you want to be a good energy level, and this I speak from experience, the kind of food that I've been eating, I can punch through. I mean, I have had a startup for the last almost 12 years, 13 years. And obviously, as a startup founder, you have mad schedules that you run. I'm not able to work out on most days. My food is kind of mostly 70% controlled, 30% not controlled, my timing. So I have to figure out which part of my life I can control and I want to control. And hence, for me, food is that part of it. Like my activity levels are very low. Like when I can, I walk around, I do some yoga, I do all of that, but I am more disciplined around my food than my activity, because again, 70% of your health is your food, 30% of it is activity. So if you can get a handle on your 70%, there's a lot you can do. Now, to be able to get a handle on it, four ways to do it right, I feel. One is prepare, second is cook, third is snack, and fourth is shop. So on all these four fronts, if you make slight bit of changes and adjustments, you'll be able to get a larger control. So the ROI on a small bit of nudge on each of these will actually be very good on your health. And so I'm going to now cover a few of these things that you can do better. So one is preparation, right? A lot of us are short on time. When you are on short on time, when you have a like if suddenly you get hungry, you don't now have time to figure out kahan se kya lana, where, what I want to cook, what I want to make. You won't start making something from scratch when you get hungry, because when you get hungry, at that point you just want that hunger to be satiated. So you cannot at that point start scrambling around your kitchen. So what you need to have is you need to have done meal prep. Now, meal prep again, if you see meal prep videos for US and all, it's very different because they make the same meal, some 8 boxes, and you eat the same meal for 8 times. I can't do it, and I guess a lot of us as Indians we can't do it. So the kind of meal prep that you can do, one is you can cut and freeze vegetables and fruits. Like you can basically right now, for example, when I want to make pumpkin soup, half the time then I have to figure out a pumpkin cut, because if I have to make it myself, I have no help at that point in time. I have to figure out, then I get lazy about cutting it, peeling it, chopping it. So half them the cutting, peeling, chopping activity itself puts me off. So what I do is I do cut and freeze. So when I cut and freeze items, it could be fruits or vegetables. So you can cut and freeze avocado cubes, you can cut and freeze mango pieces, and a lot of us have been doing that for a while also. It becomes very easy to take some out and then use it in whatever meal that you're making. So if you have cut fruits, cut vegetables, you can just punch it in together, blend it, you can have it as a meal. You can make soup out of it, you can roast it, or you can cook it faster also. If you have some mixed vegetables cut, you can quickly do a stir fry. So your making time at the time where your hunger strikes reduces when you cut and freeze. Second thing you can do is blend and freeze. So a lot of things can just be blended and frozen. You want to make a pesto for long term, make pesto, put it in ice cubes. The best way of blending and freezing is ice cubes. You make your pesto, put it in your ice tray, and when you want it, take out one cube, use it. You can do the same thing with any kind of blends. You can blend your avocado and keep it. You can take tender coconut, blend it and keep it. So you can make curries, any curries that you want to make. You can make pasta sauces, things like that. You can just blend and freeze anything. And freezing again does not have a very bad health impact. It preserves the nutrition to a large degree. So it's absolutely safe and okay to freeze and eat it after that. The third thing that you can do as your meal prep, and is something that I follow often, is make my sauces or curries, whatever you want to make. I like to eat when I make on my own. I like to just put some vegetables and put one salad sauce on top of it. So I usually keep, let's say, a peanut butter ka sauce ready made, a cashew butter ka sauce ready made. I'll make a green pesto sauce ready made, a tomato sauce, things like that. I keep sauces ready so that when I want to cook, I just have to add certain item into that, and then I will have a dish ready very quickly. Another meal prep that I have found to be very useful very recently is soaking beans. So as a habit, what I do is any kind of beans and different beans on different days, I basically take a little portion and I soak it. When it kind of becomes something, then I can decide either I can eat it raw, I can boil it and eat it as sundal, or I can make a curry out of it, whatever. But as long as I have beans soaked in my kitchen, I have my source of protein coming in every day. So I don't have to think about it. Another activity that I do is ferment. I ferment fairly often. Of course, I ferment mainly, my cook does it, but for dosa or for idli batters primarily, because again, fermentation improves your gut health. So a large part of your food, like whatever food that we're talking about, is about your gut and your metabolism. So if I can just step back a little from here, is that to understand your gut and your metabolism, your gut, which is your large intestine, no, not your actual stomach, your large intestine is the storehouse of millions and trillions of gut bacteria. There's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria. Now, when the good bacteria increases, your metabolism goes up, your food breakdown is faster, your metabolic rate goes up, your mental health improves because the gut bacteria releases hormones which are happy hormones and stuff. So your overall health improves when your gut bacteria, the good gut bacteria, is thriving. And the best way to keep your good bacteria thriving is fibers. So you have to give them a lot of fibers. Fibers are typically prebiotic, so there's a difference between prebiotic and probiotic. Prebiotic is your high fiber, dense fiber food which will become food for the bacteria. That's why it's prebiotic. And probiotic is, let's say, a kombucha or a kimchi or something, which is fermented food, which is essentially has live bacteria. So probiotic essentially is bacteria, you consuming bacteria altogether, and prebiotic is consuming fiber, which becomes food for the bacteria. The more bacteria, the more food for the bacteria thrives better, and hence, your health improves drastically. So, and also what fiber does for you very, very drastically is it's important to understand cholesterol for that. So when you have cholesterol blockages in your arteries, the only way, or rather, I mean, I'm sure there are other medical ways to do it, but through food, the large way to deal with cholesterol is produced in your own body. So the more fat that you consume and the more certain types of fat that you consume, the more cholesterol will be produced in your body. Cholesterol is not produced in plants. So you don't get cholesterol from cashew nut, almonds, peanut, any of these products, coconut oil. None of that has cholesterol in it. If you consume too much of it, if there's too much fat intake, then your body will convert it into cholesterol, and there's a process, of course, to that. But a sure, short way to clean out your cholesterol from the arteries is fiber. The more fiber you eat, it's like a broom in your artery. It will clear out the blockages in your artery. So fiber is the golden food that I think people have not really spoken about a lot. But the more fiber intake that you have in your food, the better your gut health, the better your heart health, the better all your health. So hence, fermentation for me, I have kept it as a part of my mainstay eating, either through kombucha. I drink kombucha a lot. I eat kimchi sometimes, sauerkrauts, sourdough a lot. So fermented food has helped me, again, improve my gut health. So yeah. So that's the kind of meal prep. This is easy stuff to do meal prep. You can, of course, do more stuff other than this. You can grill, semi grill, power grill, things like that also. But of course, cooked food, keeping it frozen, I mean, cooking and keeping it frozen is not the ideal, because cooking may already nutrition has been lost. So when you freeze that and eat it again later, then that doesn't work. The best is to eat fresh as you can. The second thing that we need to do is to change the way we cook. So one is your preparation itself needs to be there. You need to be prepared for your hunger, because your hunger will strike, and when it strikes, you won't have, the bhook mein andha ho jana. I don't know how many of you understand that, but that's going to happen, and you'll not have, processing power at that time to figure out, and you will reach out for the thing that is closest to food, and you will pick that up, and that's when we eat unhealthy usually. So therefore preparation is very important. Second is, how do you cook itself? Can you change the way you cook? And these are small changes you can make to your cooking techniques, which can create a huge impact on your overall health. One is, for example, this is something that I really changed, is the amount of oil that I was using. And a large part of my cooking has changed because of that. One, I have told my cook makes my food, but my cook has very strict instructions. This is the amount of oil that you can use. Now, if the cook is disciplined enough, like mine, they will follow it. If they are not, then I think you can hide the oil and give them exactly the amount of oil that you think they should be using, because rationing the amount of oil in your food is important. It is true that fatty food tastes better on your palate, but as you reduce the oil in your food, you will condition your palate to understand that ye bhi tasty hai. To the extent today, I can eat food after a lot of training, of course, but I can eat foods which is supposed to be deep fried, but I have shallow, secoed it on a cast iron or something like that, and I can eat that without really having too much difference in taste. Like, yes, if it had breadcrumbs and it was deep fried, it'll be crispier. But when I bite into that crisp, I also understand the oil also comes in and stuff. So when I now eat it this way, I don't feel too much of a difference in the taste. So it's about conditioning. Again and again, I'm saying you'll have to recondition. So you can use different techniques. One of the things that I've done seen change a lot for me is the way you cook with oil. Don't use too much oil. Use a very little amount of oil and cook it on slow heat with a cover. So steam cook it. Your stuff will get cooked. You will not need that much oil, and you can of course progress on that further and use. I'm not saying go from 5 spoons to zero. Five say four, four say three. Go gradual on that. If you like the air frying taste, or if you can train yourself, go to the air fryers, makes your life much simpler. Go to techniques like grilling, baking, steaming, again better than oil. And one very important thing, which is swapping your sweeteners. And this changes the game in a lot of things. You swap your so what you will need to do is step back and look at the foods in which you add sugar. Like in my house, I don't even have sugar. I have this much sugar literally. Most of my thing is jaggery and date syrups is what I keep. So what is it that I'm craving usually or using my sugar for? If you're using it for chai, you can easily substitute it with a date syrup. It is sweet, it is dense, it'll give you a very nice palate and a little richness into the taste, but try it, of course. Then there is date syrup can be used beautifully in a lot of your payasam, kheer, baking, cakes and stuff like that. So you can use dates as a very heavy sweetener. You can use wherever possible, then go to jaggery. Jaggery is again processed, so it has, and it comes from sugarcane. So it has similar behavior as sugar on your blood glucose, but it has micro ingredients, so therefore it works better. Again, jaggery, we are talking dark jaggery, not the light golden one that has been processed a lot. So go everything. One rule is go to the darker side of the palette. As long as it's dark and it's not close to white, it is probably healthier, in most cases. So cook cleaner, less oil, less sugar is what you need to have. Less salt also for a lot of people who have kidney issues or issues with sodium. Reduce the amount of salt that you're putting. Again, salt is training. The more you train your tongue, the lesser. So today, for example, after eating dark chocolates all this while and after not having sugar in my food for a very long time, if I eat something sweet, like which is normally considered okay sweet, I will find it very sweet. And when I find it very sweet, I don't feel like eating it. My body genuinely not naturally rejects it. I don't have to try it. But that happens again over time and training. The third thing to do is snack cleaner. And this is important because a lot of times, our main meals might be healthy, but it's the snack times where we don't have access to food, where it's not ready made. We'll go for a vada pav, we'll go for samosa, stuff like that will happen. So some again techniques to snack cleaner. One is if you have sugar cravings often, load up on your fruits, figure out which is your favorite fruits. Mine has become grapes and watermelon. I just tank up on that and it just satisfies my cravings very well. It gives me the fiber, it gives me the sugar it needs, but I give me the nutrients and all of that as well. The other thing that you can do around sugar cravings, like I said, you can make dry fruits ka laddus. There are different types of bliss balls, different types of laddus that you can make and keep. So again, keep it ready is important. You can also make a lot of desserts around, like you can basically take smoothie, add proteins to it, and just freeze it. You can make chia puddings and things like that with a lot of protein powder. So I know these things sound a little far from maybe what you eat. Like if your craving is for payasam, can you make payasam healthier? Yes, you can. I make my payasam with brown rice. I cook my brown rice and then I use it. I make it with coconut milk. I make it with dates and I put a lot of dry fruits. So I don't put sugar at all. So I just make it with that, and that payasam tastes damn good, like with some dry fruits and stuff. So you can take any food item that you have, just start substituting items on that. Substitute your oil and sugar first. Once you've substituted oil and sugar, then you can, go further in that journey. Another thing is better snacks. There are a lot of brands that, especially on Wildermart, you will find them, but a lot of brands which are making better snacks today. They're putting less oil, less sugar, less salt. So find those snacks. They cost slightly more, but they are better for your health in the long term. Third is baked stuff. So a lot of times, like I replaced a lot of my cookie kind of a feeling with crackers. So baked crackers essentially. So I tank up a lot of like these dips I will make with cashew, avocado, this, that, pesto, some random 4 5 bell pepper dips I will have. And then I will keep a lot of these crackers. Crackers can be whole wheat, crackers can be made with seeds. So I eat a lot of these seed crackers, very easy to make again. Crackers and dips again gives you the feeling of you're eating something unhealthy, but it is actually healthy. So a lot of what I have learned is to cheat your brain and your palate into thinking that you're eating unhealthy because these are things that you want to eat. I want to eat nachos and salsa, but I'm eating flaxseed crackers and avocado dip, but it feels similar to me, after a while. So that's what the idea is. And once again, be prepared around your snack attack. It will happen. You need to be prepared. So take a little time on your weekend, prepare for all of this so that through the week you're sorted. Now
Yeah.
some easy swaps. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to like to tell everyone again, like as Shweta had mentioned, for healthy snacking, you can look for healthy alternatives, or you can find alternatives for cooking ingredients. You can check all of those items out on Wildermart through Circle Health, and yeah, you can apply a flat 10% discount through us. So if you are interested in trying to change your lifestyle, make it a little more healthier, you can please check it out on the application. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you for the plug. You're very
No
all
worries.
right. So some of the swaps again, these are start out swaps. Again, the idea is not to deprive yourself or think that you're depriving yourself. The idea is to swap things. The idea is to get a better version of the stuff, right? So as a general rule, take out the whites in your kitchen, replace it with brown black. Take out the sugar, replace it with dates, jaggery. Take out your beverages. I see a lot of people consume a lot of sugar just because of the beverages you're consuming. Whether it is as harmless as Nimbu Pani, or whether it is Diet Coke, or whether it is some other, Tang or whatever it is. All of that is loaded with sugar and unhealthy sugar because there's nothing else that you're getting out of that. But instead, if you eat like sugar free juices, if you drink fresh sugar free juices, again, you can have better feeling of having something sweet, better beverage, refreshing feeling, but you're not really putting in those many calories. Desserts, I already told you how to kind of change your desserts. Chai also, if you can make, like, if you drink 3 or 4 cups of chai a day, can you swap 1 cup with, let's say, a green tea or a herbal tea or a de-stress and things like that? I know all of them sound like shusha, some aajkal ka fad hai or something like that. They're technically not fads. They become fads because there's a lot of marketing money being pumped around all of these things, and that's when it becomes a fad. This is actually a nice way of living healthy. That's about it. So as much of herbal teas that you can bring in, great swaps. Then the last thing, which is your shopping. Now, the shopping has to happen very consciously and very mindfully, because if you don't control what is entering your kitchen, you do not control what is entering your body. So you have to, because once it is in your kitchen, there is no control of when it will go into your body. When your hunger strikes, it will go in. So what you need to do is you need to ensure that what you bring into your kitchen is filtered, because when you're shopping, you can do it a little more mindfully, a little more consciously. So there are certain things to do when you're shopping mindfully. I'll come to the labels part at the end probably. One is a general rule when you go to a shopping, whether it's a physical store, whether it's an online store, try and reduce the packets as much as you can. Take food which is not in packets. General rule, right? And when you see foods not in packets, it will usually be fruits and vegetables, fresh items, or it could be a standard dal chawal, beans, those kind of things selling loose. Basically, it essentially signifies something that's not processed heavily. So reduce the number of packets in your grocery baskets at any point in time. Second thing that you can do is subscribe. because a lot of times what happens is we forget about stuff, we get lazy. So for example, in my case, it happens often that I eat tofu. Tofu is my primary source of protein. I keep like tons of tofu in my fridge, but if I buy only one or two pieces, it gets over. Then for me to replenish that, I take longer time, my inertia kicks in and stuff. So what I've now done is I subscribe, so I get like a pack of 10 every 10 days or something. I finish it off, then I get another pack of 10, so that there is always that item in my fridge. So the items that you definitely want to eat more of, ensure that it's always stocked, and ensure that you are subscribing to these things, because then you don't have to put in the effort to get your healthy food in. The third, I mean, the another important thing to do is to shop at a healthy store. Now, unfortunately, in India, there are not too many healthy food stores. Physically, also, physically, so there are much fewer. I can say that Nature's Basket is there because I shop a fair amount over there. Organic World, Organic Mandia, those kind in Bangalore at least, those kind of brands are there. But what happens is, you don't have enough information about the food at your point of sale, so it is not possible. Now, if you do the math, right? If you do the math, how much time do you spend on grocery shopping in a week? Probably half an hour, 1 hour, maximum 2 hours in a week is what you give to grocery shopping. So in 2 hours, you are shopping for at least 20, 40, 40 products probably for the week. 40 products, or rather, if I say, let's say maybe 30 products. 30 products, if you're giving it 1 hour, you're giving basically half a minute per product to decide yes or no. So when you decide it in half a minute, for you to understand whether that product is healthy, not healthy, figure it out, chat GPT it, all of that is just impossible to do. So you cannot possibly understand so much about the food that you're eating as much as you want to, unless you're willing to give it that time. Most of us do not have that time. So go to a store that is, allowing you to shop healthy. It gives you more information easily at hand. So at Wildermart, we do that. What we do is we label check every product so that you don't have to label check. We will control what are the main ingredients. If something has sugar as the main ingredient, we don't keep it. We in fact read our technology basically reads labels for 60 names of sugars, which you as a consumer will not even know. As a consumer, you will understand and recognize sugar, jaggery, stevia, some maybe four items or something like that. But sugar actually comes in 60, 70 names on your label. So it's not possible as a consumer to actually be a label expert. But if you can find a store like Wildermart where they're doing a label check already, they're telling you what to eat, then that's a good place to start with. That's a better. Understand everything is a journey. There is no absolute to everything. You will not achieve 100% on the first day. Move towards, make better decisions every day. Make it better today than yesterday. That's about it. Now, on labels, if you have to eat and if you're going in a physical store and you need to pick up certain things, here are a few things to look out for: the numbers on your labels. Your ingredient section should not have too many numbers. It should not have too many ingredients in the first place. It should not have too many ingredients. It should not have too many numbers. Read the first two ingredients. If it has sugar and flour, drop that item. That's not good for you by any means. Look for the nutritional chart that it gives, which is basically going to tell you whether it is trans fat or cholesterol or not. Look for foods without cholesterol. Look for foods without trans fats. You can also go a step further and look for foods without saturated fats. And definitely watch out for the sugar content on the nutritional label. It should not be higher than a certain percentage, which is about 20% of your daily value. So 100 gram of your product should not have more than 20% of your daily value. That's the rule. That's when anything becomes high. The fat, all of that. So even fat, you should read and see if it is higher than 20% of your daily requirement of fat. If it has higher, then that's not a healthy product for you. So that's how essentially you can read your labels. But again, find a store which is this thing. And the question came and the slide changed at the right time. um, it is cheaper to be sick, but it is only cheaper to be sick for a while. And I'm putting it in this certain way for a reason. Yes, healthy eating is considerably expensive. But there is a way to look at it, right? If you're eating out a lot, then your McDonald's burgers will always be cheaper than a salad bowl. And I'm giving two very crude and stereotypical examples, but it will always be cheaper. Now, the reason it is cheaper is because that company wants you to eat a lot more of it. And hence, it is substituting a lot of your ingredients with chemicals and food additives which mimic food, but they're not actually food. For example, one of the very funny things that I found when I was vegan and when I turned vegan early on is that Oreo, the white cream, brown chocolate outside, that cookie has no milk in it. It is vegan. So, what is that cream in the middle? How is it white? All this while, I associate any white cream with milk. But that white cream inside Oreo is not milk. There is no milk in that product at all. So, what exactly is making it so creamy? And yeah, and half the time it is basically hydrogenated fat with some color added to it and stuff like that. And hence it becomes cheaper, right? So Oreo will be cheaper than a McVitie's. I'm not saying McVitie's is any standard in anything, but I'm just giving you examples. Because, so why is healthy food always expensive? Because the ingredients are real food. If your ingredient is real food, it will cost a certain amount of money. So it's not that the healthy food is more expensive, it is that healthy food is food. The cheaper food is not food. It is just a bunch of chemicals that is going to satiate your hunger, it is going to satiate your palate, but it's not going to give you the functional nutrition that you're needing for. So if you want to eat unhealthy food, be conscious, be mindful that this is a craving, I want to satisfy it, but this food is not serving me. You need to understand that, because the purpose of food, the functional purpose of food is to give you nutrition. If a food is not giving you nutrition, it's not going to help. So that's one of the reasons why healthy food is expensive. Second is that if you choose to avoid packaged foods altogether, like you say, I will snack also sprouts ka snacking hoga, fruits ka snacking hoga, I don't want biscuits in my house, I don't want any of those things in my house. That's pretty much similar to what I eat. My If you see my grocery shopping, while I run a store which has a lot of packaged foods, but it has all healthy label check packaged foods, I will eat more vegetables. I eat more raw because I have come that distance in my health journey that I now eat more raw foods and I'm happier eating raw foods. So when I eat raw foods, then my consumption is very less. I for a single person, I eat fruits and vegetables worth 1,000 rupees every week. That's about it. And I am very fully satiated. And uske baad, there is obviously, grains and stuff and some bit of snacking that I add to it or eating out. But it's not that expensive then. So it's really which food are you choosing? For example, if you want to go plant based, you don't need to necessarily substitute it with almond milk and cashew milk or substitute it with the plant based meat or something. No, you can just drop it. You can just leave it. If an item is not doing service to your body, just drop it. So, I mean, of course, it's easier to say for me right now because I've done that journey. For you, it'll be a stepwise journey. Please go ahead and do it, but it will always be cheaper for you to eat unhealthy, and hence understand that that unhealthy food will make you sick, and you can live off that. You can live off eating kurkure, and especially in your 20s, 30s, early 30s, you can live off eating unhealthy. Nothing will happen. It's only post 35 that your body will start reacting to it. You will start feeling sluggish. It will start with some small things like that, indigestion, burping, things like that. And then it starts escalating from there on. So after 35 is where your body is completely changing. And that's when you will realize the cost of your cheap food. So, you will have to spend on your health either way. The difference is whether you spend on your food or whether you spend on your medicine. If you spend on your food, you're not going to spend on your medicine that much. If you're happier spending on medicine, then that's absolutely fine. Just go for your medicines and eat the cheaper food. But you will have to spend for your health. So, on that note, essentially, I will just tell you one last thing, which is that food, which is this is emotional and this is functional. A large part of your work with your food will have to be to make that switch between emotional eating and functional eating. And the more you gear towards functional eating, you will see multiple changes in your body. A, your health markers will go better. B, your energy levels will be out of the roof. So you'll not be getting tired. You'll not have like these backaches, that ache. That stuff will reduce drastically for you. And the thing is also when you eat nutritionally dense food, even if you eat more, you will not be able to eat more because the body recognizes nutrition more than you do. So the body will take up the nutrition and the body will say, ho gaya mera nutrition ka kaam, I don't feel like eating anymore. So the body will reject the food signals and you will also therefore not want to eat. So it is impossible to overeat a healthy food. Like, I mean, yes, some days I overeat my salad, but then it's only sometimes. You cannot possibly overeat healthy food. So hence that switch has to happen in your head, which you will have to make and gradually start changing things. Just a simple question to ask, is this food serving your needs? And this need is very, very generic. Most often, go for your functional needs 70% of the time. 30% of your time, your need will be emotional. You had a rough day, you need an ice cream, go for it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't call it cheating. None of that shit. I mean, you eat food what you want to as long as it's serving your need at that point in time. Be conscious about it. And that's all. That's all that you need to do with food. That's it. And yeah, oh sorry, yeah. And I call it the diet of more. A shift in your mind has to be that, this is not a diet. If you start eating more whole foods and less processed foods and stuff, it's not about controlling yourself, it's not about reducing things in your life. You need to have a perspective that this is a diet of more. So you will have more plants, you will have more fresh food, you'll have more raw food, you'll eat more local food, more clean, more nutrition, more energy. So all of these, your life will actually become an abundance when you change your food. And from a better mental health, better physical health, all of it will change the minute you change your food. So yes, that's about it. And if there are any questions, love to discuss that.
Please feel free to ask any of your questions. You can raise your hand, drop it in chat, anything works out. I'll be there to assist you. Do we have any questions?
Doesn't look like. I hope
Mm.
everyone is kind of convinced to at least think about it. The idea of the session is not to make a change today, but the idea of the session is to start thinking about it. Start with the small stuff, no daunting large things. Which one
Mm.
is the best protein source? Packaged one. So my bias is towards protein powders because I just find it easy to consume protein in that format. So, like for example, there's a brand called Cosmix. They make very good plant-based proteins. There is a brand called Strive. They make very good protein powders. Then there are a lot of very good hemp protein powder brands and hemp protein products, or just hemp seeds. If you just consume hemp seeds, very good brands, India Hemp and Co, Bohico, India Hemp Organics. They make very good protein powder, hemp protein powders as well. So they use pea protein and hemp protein to give very good flavors as well. Then, if you want protein snacks, there are a lot of protein snacks that are there. So you can do protein energy bars. You can do protein balls. There are a lot of these protein balls. There's a brand called Insane Fit. You'll find it on our website. You can do a lot of protein puffs. Those kind of things are also there right now. So Insane Fit has these protein puffs. Nourish Organics has some protein puffs. So those are snacks which can still give you a little more protein than another. There's a brand called Prolicious where they're making khakras and stuff with more protein. There's a brand called Gladful which makes cookies with proteins and stuff. So there are a lot of brands today working in the snacking segment and adding proteins to your snacks. So you can work around that also.
And someone also had a question like
Mhm.
before, like how will we consume the hemp? Like, is it like so? I guess like if you can you shed some light on that
Yeah.
also.
So hemp comes in multiple formats. Again, so the main part which is used in hemp is the seeds. So seeds, again, there are different versions of processing that can come. One is seeds with the shell. If you take seeds with the shell, again, the fiber and all of that is higher. When you crack open the shell, and then there's something called hemp hearts. What you will see often when you buy it, it's called hemp hearts. It's that I don't know if you've done these experiment with these beans, kala chana or kabuli chana, when you break open and see the split inside. So there is a cover, the black color cover. When you take it out, there is that white color soft inside, which you split into two. That is called hemp heart, which is inside the hemp seed. Those hemp hearts are very easy to eat. You can like literally snack on hemp hearts because they're not too crunchy, but they're not very soft either. They're softish crunchy, if I can say. You can easily put that on top of your smoothie, on your toast. If you're just eating toast and peanut butter, for example, you can put a bunch of hemp seeds on your peanut butter. You can put it on your salad. So these are, again, one of the things that I've realized is that a lot of things you can add to your food without drastically changing the palette on your this thing. So I add, for example, a lot of hemp, of course. I add a lot of berries. Berries are very high antioxidants. They're berry, and the reason I eat dark chocolate is because cacao is very high antioxidant. So antioxidant again helps you with your metabolism. It helps you with your overall general health. So when you put those things on top of your food, you don't really realize the difference, but you're adding a lot of the micronutrients. So micronutrients, very easy to cheat it by just adding it. Like I used to make poha, and I'm in love with poha. I eat a lot of poha. So for example, the way I eat poha is I put a lot of vegetables firstly. It's not just aloo and pyaz. There's a lot of vegetables. I put beans, I put gajar, matar, like all the vegetables I can find, broccoli and all that. And then earlier I used to put save bhujia on top to add the crunch. Now also I put a little of that, but I add a lot of seeds. I toast pumpkin, sunflower, and I add that as seeds. So then it gives me the crunch. So the palate gets satisfied with the crunch, but I get the micronutrients as well. So you can cheat your stuffing that way.
Okay, since there are no more questions, we can end the session. Thank you
Super.
so much, Shweta. It was such a lovely session, and
Thank you.
really loved all your personal experience, inputs, and all these questions. It was very
Thank you.
informational, and yeah, thank you so much. It was such a great session.
Thank you. Thank you. Somebody's joining now. All right. See you guys. Thank you so much. And yes, eat healthy, shop on Builder Mart, use the code Circle Health, and great. Look forward to your healthy journeys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.